Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Had a great night. Let's take a look and see what is going on with Bitcoin for the day. So, getting that move up like I was expecting, right? Now, whether or not it's going to continue is, a bigger question. There are signs that I'm getting that we are going to have a bigger pump, bigger continuation move. I'm not necessarily sure if it's going to happen today, tomorrow, maybe even part of the weekend, but we are getting over some very key levels, and it's making me think that there's a potential that we could really reprice higher. So, taking a look at our daily, obviously we had a compression candle yesterday. This is our expansion candle, so we're expanding to the upside, right? Usually after compression comes expansion, so we had two compression candles, and now we're getting an expansion to the upside, thankfully, rather than to the inverse. But you could see how this was like, really trying to trap traders. This looked like it was building a head and shoulders, and it just flipped. It completely reversed, right? And this is what this asset does. It's meant to trick, trap, and fool traders. That's all that this thing is doing. So when you start learning how to counter trade, that's when you can start becoming more profitable. Now, sometimes, depending on the environment, depending on the trends, the time of the year, where we're at in the cycle, it can be obvious, but we're not in an obvious season right now. We're in a season where everybody's trying to short the market, right? And so we have to be on our guard and our due diligence in figuring out, where price is most likely to reprice to. And tools like Trading Different and Open Market, they help you kind of figure that out, right? There's only so much and so long that they can hide information from us before it becomes, public, basically. Eventually you're going to be able to see your model or see a breakout is coming in one direction or the other. That being said, taking a look at the 12 hour, touching that 21 MA, hopefully we can close above it. Got another 9 hours, 54 minutes to go. Nothing too, worrisome there for right now. The 8 hour and the 10 hour are what I'm most interested in. I do highly recommend you guys, watch these, but the 10 hour, if we close above the 200 MA here, yes, on the bigger time frames, we have seen it before where they drop a little bit, and maybe they get rejected slightly, but eventually this move does play out, especially you're getting the official 50 over the 200 golden cross when it comes to the 10 hour, also when it comes to the 8 hours. So as long as this next candle closes bullish, it's really going to give a really positive sign that we're probably going to get a very strong move up. More so than this, just this blue line and this orange line, right? I'm talking, at the very least, taking out this double top right here, and if not, I'm actually even more so expecting taking this full order block. At least the 69, the middle of 69,317 about, if not all the way up to about 70,762. You got to assume that if we get that golden cross, we're probably going to touch the 200 MA on the 12 hour, right? That's our next time frame. So, 69 300-ish area is going to be in the cards. So that's a very expansive move up from here, right? Um, so I'm expecting a lot of violence if we can get this true golden cross right here and we get a green candle to close above. That's going to be major, okay? 6 hour, 4 hour still looking fantastic. One other thing I'm going to note, guys, is once we do get above the 8 hour and the 10 hour, as far as, my bias for getting into the macro time frames, um, I am going to basically be more bullish for right now on those bigger time frames, mainly because I know that there's going to be more of an expansive move up. There's a good probability of it if we can get that golden cross on both of these. And 12 hour obviously starting to really feed into those bigger time frames. So definitely a very exciting time here for Bitcoin. Um, the only thing as of right now that concerns me in a bearish way is the fact that we are doing this kind of blow off top thing for the end of July. I'm not sure how this is going to translate over for August. So there's a potential that, like, I think I mentioned this yesterday, first week of August, we get that move up, but then, towards the middle end of August, we're going to get that move down, possibly getting into here, right? So something to keep in mind, but for right now, this is looking halfway decent to me. Um, Taking a look at the 1 hour, you're getting above the 200 again. Look for this to flag out. So obviously we are getting farther from the 21 and the 50. Because we are in a more, we're going to experience lower volume now because we already had the FOMC event. We had our unemployment claims that came in today, so that was a major, red folder. But as of tomorrow, like we're not going to have anything. The remainder of the day, we don't have anything. So just kind of expect some lower volume, a lot of choppiness, but it might be a, not financial advice with this, but for me, I'm keeping a bigger time frame trade open for right now. I'm already been in profit, but just to see if I can get that continuation on the 8 hour and the 10 hour. Kind of playing a bigger time frame here. So one of my trades I'm going to leave open to see where that goes, kind of like almost like a multi-day, even multi-week trade. Um, but again, it can go against me, sure, but I have to take those opportunities when they arise, right? And like I was telling you guys, the 8 hour and the 10 hour, this does not happen often. The last time we got it was when? Back in back in April. So this is the first time, from almost getting into the fourth month now that we've been getting tight close to the 200 MA, possibly getting that cross, right? So I have to take that seriously, and I'm willing to take the risk associated with that personally, because this is a model that I know does play out, and I'm willing to take that risk. This also looks like a beautiful inverted, kind of Adam and Eve thing going on right here. That's gorgeous. But anyways, that's kind of what I'm seeing for right now. Smaller time frames obviously are going to feed into the larger ones. You're getting some nice consolidation on the 1521, so perfect sign for the Sammy special. Just not really a true flag just yet, I would say. I guess you could kind of say there was a small flag here. It didn't really break out as it was supposed to, though. But I'm not a huge flag pattern trader type of thing, so for me, it's mainly going to be about price and support and resistance levels. That's more so what I trade with. That being said, guys, as far as levels go, obviously testing and getting above 65,252 and 65,373 are going to be crucial for this continuing to move up. I would personally expect if we can get above these, I would probably ignore this line for now. I mean, we could just come in and tap it if it wanted to be more bearish. I'm going to be more so targeting the bottom of this order block, 67.5 at the very least. But if we get that 8 hour and 10 hour cross, and it stays that way, I'm more so probably going to be targeting 69,317 to the upside. To the downside, still the same thing. You want to make sure that you keep 63,322. That's going to be extremely important. Um, Further than that, you're looking at 62,414 and then obviously 61K-ish area. All right, guys, that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at liquidity. So for whatever reason, I'll try it one more time, but open market was not loading for me this morning, so we may not have that data for right now. I might have to give you guys that later once it gets back online, but for whatever reason, that was not loading properly for me. Let's take a look at the 4 hour for right now. So the 4 hour, you got above the 64,685. You start closing candles above here, guys. This is going to be used as a major support level, in my opinion. So very bullish sign as long as we can stay above it. Um, Obviously, this targeting 67.2-ish area, as our first kind of, area of liquidity, somewhat coincides with my 67.5 bottom of the order block. We could potentially get rejected off of here, but it's not a red area, so there's a good potential we take a lot of this out, or majority of it out. Don't have to take everything, but there is a potential that we could take a lot of it out. We do have liquidity up to 69,655 when it comes to the 25x pool. The 10x pool will also give you, though, all the way up to 72,000. We do have about 70,000 of yellow liquidity that we could get up to. And again, aligning with the 69.2, we also have a yellow pool that ends around 69,040, which is right underneath that 69,300-ish area that I was targeting as a support line, or sorry, a resistance line to potentially come and test. So very bullish looking on the 4 hour. You get the move to the downside, which is definitely a potential for next month or the following. Maybe getting down into here at least, 60,000-ish area is a very real possibility. But I just don't see that happening anytime soon within the next week or week and a half, potentially. I do see that continue to move up. All right, so taking a look at the 1 hour, you kind of took out majority of this blue liquidity up to this green pool to be expected. I am expecting just some regular consolidation, nothing to be too worried about just yet. You got to understand that in order for us to continue that move up, we have to trend, right? And with trend comes some downtrend, some uptrend. In addition, it's going to invoke traders to want to short, try to short the top. So we need those shorts to be able to keep moving upwards, right? So this to me is still very bullish. I am not going to be flipping or looking bearish anytime soon as of right now. I will let you guys know if that changes, but for right now, I am still extremely bullish on this. See, taking a look at the 50x liquidity, you can see we can get up around 67,600, which again aligns with my 67.5-ish narrative. Not that it's going to happen for sure, but you can see how in a lot of these videos my levels do play out quite a bit. There are many times where they're very accurate or near accurate. So just kind of keep that in mind. I've been in this market for a while, and I've learned from some of the best mentors out there. And when I see support and resistance levels, they usually are very well respected for the most part. And especially because I also align it with liquidity as well. So I'm not a I don't know. I'm not a psychic. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I do have a very good sense overall of what is probability wise going to happen. Um, 15-minute time frame. Taking a look at this, I mean, you can even see our trend for the hourly is like really bullish, right? We're at a 3 still. Our daily and our 4 hour is at a 0, which is understandable. But on a smaller time frame basis, it is saying that we have bullishness in the air. As far as a potential bounce area, you could possibly say that the 15 we might retrace down to about 64,234 if it wants to. Maybe get a bounce from there, invoke some more shorts. But like I said, overall, guys, I'm just expecting a very slow, gradual uptrend for the remainder of the week. Especially that 8 hour and 10 hour is going to be crucial to watch within the next upcoming days. We can get that cross, it's going to be very violent, potentially to the upside. So even if it's over the weekend, there's a potential that we're just going to have violence overall, until we start getting more, basically deeper into August. Let's take a look at the 5 minute, see what's going to happen there. So 5 minute, again, kind of showing that there is some yellow pools up to 66,000-ish area. You have some up to 67.5, bottom of the order block still. Again, you've heard that number many times today. 67.5 would be my first target to the upside. There's a possibility you get rejected around 66,000, but for right now, until we move into next week's candle, I would at least target this upper area for now. All right, that being said, guys, that is what I have for you for right now. Oh, yes, let's take one quick look at the simple map to take a look and see what levels that is seeing, or that tells us here. So it does look like we've taken out majority of the liquidity for now to the upside. You could see some bounce off of 64.5. I would look for that impulse to be respected. If not, you could potentially fall down to 63.840. There is a slight one at 64.260. I wouldn't take this one as seriously though as 63.840 if we do lose this. So potential entry that you could possibly enter out if you're trying to scalp. Never financial advice. Do what you want with this information, but it does look more so like we're going to stay in the 64s rather than drop back down to the 63s. As far as liquidity to the upside, you're going to have to get above 65,160 to continue that move up. Next point that you might have trouble with is 65.5, and then moving up from there to about 65,730. That's kind of what I'm seeing for the smaller time frames. And then on your bigger time frames, they have been aligning a lot lately. So yeah, once again, 64.5, possible 64.260, worst case scenario, getting into 63.840, 63.750. Going to have some resistance to the upside, 65 160, 65 490, and then 65 730 before you can really continue that move up. And look at this, guys. I mean, it does allude that around 65 940, you're going to have a bigger point of resistance around 66,000, and that's where that red liquidity is. So there is a potential that we kind of roll through this and get up to here, and if we get past 66,000, you can really just roll up all the way to 66 930, which is around 67,000 before you get some issues. So that is what I'm seeing for Bitcoin for right now, guys. As usual, if you guys ever want to use Trading Different and its tools, highly, highly recommend it to identify trend and to look at liquidity. Feel free to use my code Sean. You'll get 10% off of your order. tradingdifferent.com/code/Sean to get 10% off of your order. That being said, guys, that's what I have for you for right now. We'll take a real quick look, see if Kiyotaka is going to load up here and see. Oh, it's going to load. Perfect. So might have just been a temporary glitch. You do have more orders to the upside. You have one down here at 63,638, right below that 63.8 level. You do have more to the upside to about 63.5, which we did take a look at on the simple map. You have one bigger order, 28.68 million of Bitcoin, guys, at 66,400. That is a gigantic order. And look at these. All of these are in the millions. So you can basically, as long as this kind of starts thinning out, this could be a strong area of resistance, unfortunately, but there's a decent chance it'll start thinning out, but these are huge, huge orders, guys. That's a lot of money, in these orders. So um, definitely, a potential that it does show that there's some deep red, if you're looking at bookmap, it would be deep red, but there's some deep orders to the upside here. So definitely giving a bullish sentiment for right now, as long as we're not using it as resistance. All right, guys, that is what I have for you for right now. I will be back later on this evening. I hope you all have a wonderful day and take care.